Hey, my name's Joel, and in this video, we're gonna be putting this little Amerisun 2500W generator slash inverter to the test. But I think the first proper way to evaluate this generator is to go to the studio, look at all the features, the design, the build, then we'll come right back here. We'll do some load testing and some sound testing. How about that? All right, let's go to the studio. All right, so let's quickly go over some of the features and design on this Amerisun generator. I really like the look of it. It's very streamlined. It's got a big, comfortable handle. This red and black design should look familiar to you. It's very common in these small generators. It's got normal features that you would expect to see right on top, your gas cap here. It's got a vent on the gas cap, so make sure that when you're running it, you turn it to that on position. Right there, you can turn this on and off. Make sure it's on when you're running so you can vent out that gas system. Then right next to it, it has a little float meter so you can tell how much gas you have in there. That's not something you see on every small generator, so that is a nice added bonus. On this side, you have your on, off, and your choke switch. When you're starting cold, you want to start on choke, and then you'll turn it to on once the engine starts. You can obviously then flip it to the off position once you're ready to shut it down. And this is your pull cord. It's not a difficult pull, very simple. It's a nice, comfortable handle. All you have to do is give it normally one or two nice, easy pulls, and it will start right up. You can go from choke to on. Now, as we go across the front here, you'll see the most important parts of the generator, and that is the inputs. So this is an inverter generator with a max peak usage of 2,500 watts. It will run continuously at 1,900 watts, and it has 120 volt maximum output. That is what a standard household plug is. So you're gonna see two standard household plugs right here on the front, and then right next to that, a very standard 12 volt outlet that you might see in a camper or in your car. And then right next to that, very familiar USB-A, two USB-A inputs. There are no USB-C inputs, which is becoming more of a standard. I'd really like to see that on here, but we don't have any. All three of these inputs have dust covers, which I think is important when they're not in use, especially since a generator is going to be used outdoors, normally camping, in the woods, in a garage, in a work setting, a place where dirt, dust, and debris could get in there. You want to keep these covered from dust and debris when they're not in use. Then right here above your USB-A inputs, you have a switch for eco mode. And I think that that's something that could be really handy if you're trying to conserve fuel but not using a lot. You want to put it in eco mode so that your fuel will last longer. Then right here we have a DC overload indicator. So if you're overloading the inputs, then it'll let you know. Right up top, it's got several warning lights. This is really nice because it has a CO2 alarm. So you shouldn't use this indoors or in a garage, but if you do improperly use this and create CO2 in the air, which can be harmful or even deadly to you, this has an alarm to warn you. That light is right up top, and it'll tell you there's a CO2 failure. Then you have an oil light, a warning light, and I'm not sure what this light is. It says run above it, but maybe that's just on while it's running. That's probably it. Then in the far right, you have a reset button and a parallel connection. You got your red and your black connection. So that is if you have two units and you want to combine their power, you would use an approved parallel electrical cord to go from one unit to the other. So you could double your input to your output. Instead of 2,400 watts, you could go to nearly 5,000 watts, to 48 max if you put two of these together and use them in parallel. So that's really nice and handy. All standard stuff across the front. You have some venting, and because this is an inverter generator, this is all you need to use. It inverts the electrical current from DC to AC, comes out these inputs here. Is that complicated enough? Pretty easy stuff. All you need to know is plug your stuff in and use it. On this other side right here on top, you will see this little maintenance hatch, and this is just a hatch that allows you to access your spark plug and other accessories inside the engine without taking the full casing off to do, regular maintenance. Oil changes and spark plug changes are probably the most important things to keep up to date on small little generators, and if you take care of them, they will last a long time. I like that this has a cord connecting this little trap door to the unit because these things can run off and get lost and then they're no longer useful. It just slides on there and then it's got a little locking mechanism that holds it in place. I like that trap door. Then along the back, we'll real quickly talk about the back. This is going to be a hot surface when it's running, but here is your exhaust. This is what you want to keep clear when you're running, and like I said, don't use it in an enclosed space. And one other item to mention, the bottom of the generator. We often overlook this, but that's important because it's going to need to set firmly right wherever you put it and not move. This has rubber feet that are not circular and do not easily come off if you run them on carpet. I've seen some, if you skid them on a surface, the rubber feet will fall off. These are pretty sturdy and they're nice hard rubber. They're soft enough to hold it in place on a table like this without it going anywhere. So nice feet is an important feature. And that's everything you need to know about the features on this Amerisun 2500W generator. All right, so the first test we want to put this generator through is a noise test. They say it has quiet technology, so we're going to see just how quiet it really is. I've got my decibel meter here. We're going to be looking at the decibel readings from various different lengths away, and we're going to start with no load on the generator. It is going to get a little bit louder when we put load on it, but this will be a good baseline test so we don't mix in the noise of whatever it's powering into that calculation. So let's go ahead and start things up, then we'll throw on the decibel meter and see how it does. And just so you know, I've purposely not started this generator in about 2 weeks, so it's been sitting here cold. I do have my vent on the top of the gas cap. That's important. I'm going to turn my switch here to choke, and I'm just going to give it a pull. Let's see how many pulls it takes to get going. All right, 2 easy pulls. Now I'm going to move it to on. You'll see the exhaust smoke clear out now that it's on. And first impression, it is extremely quiet. I'm standing right here next to it, talking in a normal voice, and I'm already impressed with how quiet it is compared to other generators of this same size that I've done. All right, so I've got my decibel meter out here, and I'm gonna stop talking and come right over here by the camera, which is about 5 to 6 feet away from the generator. So let's test it out. All right, now we are about 15 feet away from the generator. So here's the decibel reading. Let's go back further. Now we're about 25 feet away from the generator. All right, so time for some honesty. I was not prepared to be this impressed by the noise level on this generator. This is incredibly quiet. I mean, I'm 35 feet away from it right now. It's whisper quiet. I think we got down below 50 decibels, which is like a conversation. So to me, that makes it extremely quiet compared to other generators we've used. And we've tested several of the same wattage and size, and they're all about 10 to 15 to maybe even 20 decibels louder than this at similar length. So I'm really impressed with how quiet it runs. Let's do one more test right up on it and see how quiet it is if you're right on the generator. All right, so now I'm standing right next to the exhaust outlet. I mean, it's right here. Here's the measurement. I'm only getting like 70 decibels, 71 decibels. So at the loudest possible place, it's only 70 decibels. That's crazy. And it's running so smooth. I mean, it's not sputtering, it's not spitting, it's not stopping. It's just nice and smooth. So let's get one of my heavier pieces of equipment. It's an electric wood chipper. Hook it up to the generator and see what that does to the noise level and to the engine itself. And don't forget, if you're enjoying this video or finding it helpful, be sure to give me a thumbs up below. All right, so this is my electric wood chipper or stick chipper. I'm gonna plug this thing in here, see how it changes the noise level. Now this thing is a little noisy, so it's gonna change that, but we wanna listen to how it affects the engine. Okay, I thought I'd come up here away from everything to talk about this. There's definitely an uptick in the noise on the generator when we plugged in the chipper, but it's hard to differentiate how much of that noise is the generator itself and how much is the chipper. I don't think it got like extremely loud. I think it just got a little bit louder. So you can see we're about 35 feet away. Even with both of those running, we're looking at about 56 decibels, 57 decibels from here. So it's not bad. I can still carry on a conversation 35 feet away with all that stuff running. And that is a really loud piece of yard equipment. So if you were running lights or something that was quieter, the load would just be the generator's noise, which is probably going to be most people's case. But still, very impressive noise level from the Amerisun. Yeah, and you can instantly just kind of hear the generator go back down to a quiet level. Well, if quiet is what you're going for, then this is the generator for you at the price point they're selling it for, which I can't say because it changes all the time. It's an incredible value. It's not expensive. It's actually quite inexpensive compared to other generators in a similar wattage level. It's got to be the quietest one I have ever tested, and we've gone through 4 or 5 this summer of a similar size between 2500 and 4500 watts. I'm really impressed with how it runs, what it can power, and how quiet it is while it does it. So if you're interested in all of those things together, make sure you check out the Amerisun generator. I'll leave links in the description below. As always, if you like this video, give me a thumbs up and subscribe if you're new. My name is Joel, this is Boxium Reviews, and I'll see you in the next video. Time to shut her down.